Hello and welcome to this continuing first look exploring session looking at Old Fortunatus by Thomas Dekker. This is our second session. We're continuing our journey through the text from, in some editions, Act 2. Others the first chorus before Scene 4 as a running numbering. It's sometimes difficult to know precisely how to break up scripts, so sometimes little confusions occur. We have, got about a quarter of the way through the text so far. Had a certain amount of fun with the story so far. Very, very simple stuff. Old Fortunatus has gained a magic purse, which gives him gold. Lots and lots of gold. So that's nice, and Fortune has been setting virtue and vice up against each other for a bit of a bet about who can be tempted to virtue and who can be tempted to vice in the personification of some gardening, with the addition on stage to some trees. So to continue our journey through, we hopefully will have additional readers popping in shortly to add to our host, so may have some additional introductions in just a moment. But reading Fortunatus as well as Galloway today is...
Hello, my name is Lynn. I am coming to you from the northwestern United States.
Reading Shadow today is...
Hi, I'm Eric, and I feel I should have like some, light effects for that, or just like, some special effects for that kind of name. It feels like a superhero name or supervillain name. More supervillain than superhero. So yeah.
I'm trying to think. Is it Marvel or DC Shadow? I'm not sure. I don't know. Reading Soldan, Boy, and Agripyne today is...
Hello, Dan, actor based in Montpellier, France. I'm thinking DC.
Yeah, feels that way. Reading Andelocia and Nobles today is...
Rachael, actor on the East Coast. I think the Shadow is DC.
I think it feels like there's an established continuity there. Reading Orlean and the Chorus is...
Alan Scott, never been into comics.
And hopefully just joining us now, the computer warmed up and with us, or has it just... Yes, are you with us, Briony?
I am.
Excellent. So reading Ampedo and Cyprus as well, is...
Briony Sparrow, actor in Lincolnshire.
Excellent. And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading stage directions and generally moving things forward. So without further ado, we're going to dive into what some people call Act 2, the chorus thereof, or just the first chorus in the text, if we're not including the prologue as the chorus, which arguably you should discuss. Anyway, let's hear what the chorus has to say.
The world to the circumference of heaven is as a small point in geometry, whose greatness is so little that a less cannot be made. Into that little narrow room, your quick imaginations we must charm, to turn that world, and turned again to part it into large kingdoms, and within one moment to carry Fortunatus on the wings of active thought many 1,000 miles. Suppose then, since you last beheld him here, that you have sailed with him upon the seas, and leapt with him upon the Asian shores, been feasted with him in the Tartar's palace, and in all the courts of each barbarian king, from whence being called by some unlucky star, for happiness never continues long, helped me to bring him back to Aragon, where for his pride riches make all men proud. On slight quarrel by a covetous earl, Fortune's dear minion is imprisoned. There think you see him sit with folded arms, tears dropping down his cheeks, his white hairs torn, his legs in rusty fetters, and his tongue bitterly cursing that his squint-eyed soul did not make choice of wisdom's sacred love. Fortune, to triumph in inconstancy, from prison bails him. Liberty is wild, for being set free, he, like a lusty eagle, cuts with his ventrous feathers through the sky, and lights not till he find the Turkish court. Thither transport your eyes, and there behold him, revelling with the Emperor of the East, from whence through fear for safeguard of his life, flying into the arms of ugly night. Suppose you see him brought to Babylon, and that the sun, all clothed in fire, hath rid 1/4 of his hot celestial way with the bright morning, and that in this instant he and the Soldan meet. But what they say, listen you, the talk of kings none dare bewray.
Exit chorus. So yeah, last time we were having various Tamburlaine vibes. Now I'm definitely getting sort of Faustus-y vibes with what this chorus is doing here. To be fair, quite a few other choruses have done similar sort of journeying. So if this thing happens, and this thing happens, and now he's here. He's really gone travelling and whooped it up, and now chatting with the Soldan. As you were having nipped off to Babylon. Yeah, I believe. So there's that. Thoughts in the room about what Fortunatus is doing? Do we, Lynn?
I see that he's already regretting his choice and kicking himself, saying, I should have chosen wisdom. Did I hear the chorus say that? That happened a little more abruptly than I anticipated. I thought that we would see that unfold in the action rather than just have it narrated. I'm a little disappointed, actually.
Well, I don't know, because it says that he's feeling, cursing himself, but then he gets bailed from prison and then he lives it up again. Did I misunderstand that? Because it seems like he's gone on a journey of regret, and then he seems to be doing exactly what he did before. So, yeah, maybe it's just a momentary thing.
We shall see in the next scene.
See. I don't know. Any other takes on this chorus so far? Alan.
It saves an awful lot of scenes, or just put it all to one exposition monkey.
Well, I say it does. There's just to give us a sense of a bigger picture, without giving us scenes that we don't necessarily need. Of course, it may be that these are scenes that were heavily displayed in an earlier version of this tale on an earlier stage version, and that maybe they're deliberately not including those scenes because you would have seen them 5 years earlier in a different take on the same story. So it might be something more like that. We've had that with other plays before. Anyway, not really much to discuss there. We'll move on. We've been told in this instant he and the Soldan meet. Let's see what goes on there. So, Act 2, Scene 1, or running Scene 4, enter the Soldan, his nobleman, and Fortunatus.
Art thou that Fortunatus, whose great name, being carried in the chariot of the winds, has filled the courts of all our Asian kings with love and envy, whose dear presence ties the eyes of admiration to thine eyes? Art thou that Jove that in a shower of gold appearedst before the Turkish emperor?
I am that Fortunatus, mighty Soldan.
Where is that purse which threw abroad such treasure?
I gave it to the Turkish Suleiman. A second I bestowed on Prester John. A third the great Tartarian Cham received. For with these monarchs I have banqueted, and rid with them in triumph through their courts, in crystal chariots drawn by unicorns. England, France, Spain, and wealthy Belgia, and all the rest of Europe's blessed daughters have made my covetous eye rich in the embrace of their celestial beauties. Now I come to see the glory of fair Babylon. Is Fortunatus welcome to the Soldan? For I am like the sun, if Jove once chide, my gilded brows from amorous heaven I hide.
Most welcome, and most happy are mine arms encircling such an earthly deity. But will not Fortunatus make me blessed by a sight of such a purse?
Ere I depart, the Soldan shall receive one at my hands, for I must spend some time in framing it, and then some time to breathe that virtuous spirit into the heart thereof, all which is done by a most sacred inspiration.
Welcome, most welcome to the Soldan's court. Stay here and be the king of Babylon. Stay here, and I will more amaze thine eyes with wondrous sights than can all Asia. Behold your town. There stands my armory, in which are corselets forged of beaten gold to arm 100,000 fighting men, whose glittering squadrons, when the sun beholds, they seem like to 100,000 Jobs, when Jove on the proud back of thunder rides, trapped all in lightning flames. There can I show thee the ball of gold that set all Troy on fire. There shalt thou see the scarf of Cupid's mother, snatched from the soft, moist ivory of her arm to wrap about Adonis's wounded thigh. There shalt thou see a wheel of Titan's care, which dropped from heaven when Phaeton fed the world, fired the world. I'll give thee, if thou wilt, 2 silver doves composed by magic to divide the air, who as they fly shall clap their silver wings and give strange music to the elements. I'll give thee, else the fan of Proserpine, who in reward for a sweet Thracian song, the black-browed empress threw to Orpheus, being come to fetch Eurydice from hell.
Hath ever mortal eye beheld such wonders?
Mine shall behold them, and make choice of any, so thou wilt give the Soldan such a purse.
By fortune's blessed hand, who christened me, the mighty Soldan shall have such a purse, provided I may see these priceless wonders.
Leave us alone.
And exit nobles.
Never was mortal ear acquainted with the virtue of a jewel, which now I'll show, outvaluing all the rest.
It is impossible.
Behold, his casket.
He draws his curtain.
Fettered in golden chains, the lock pure gold, the key of solid gold, which myself keep. And here's the treasure that's contained in it.
And takes out the hat.
A coarse felt hat? Is this the precious jewel?
I'll not exchange this for 10 diadems on pain of death. None listen to our talk.
What needs this solemn conjuration?
Oh yes, for none shall understand the worth of this inestimable ornament. You, and yet not you, but that you swear by her white hand that lent you such a name to leave a wondrous purse in Babylon.
What I have sworn, I will not violate, but now uncover the virtues of this hat.
I think none listen. If they do, they die.
None listen. Tell, what needs this jealousy?
You see, 'tis poor and show. Did I want jewels, gold could beget them, but in the wide world's wealth buys not this hat. This clapped upon my head, I only with a wish am through the air, transported in a moment of seas and overlands to any secret place. By this, I steal to every prince's court and hear the private counsels and prevent all dangers which to Babylon are meant. By help of this, I oft see armies join, though when the dreadful Alvarado sounds, I am distant from the place 1,000 leagues. Oh, and as such a person, such a hat, the Soldan were of all most fortunate.
Oh, had I such a hat, then were I brave. Where's he that made it?
Dead, and the whole world yields not a workman that can frame the like.
No, dost. By what trick shall I make this mine? Methinks when you are born o'er the season or lands, the heaviness thereof should weigh you down, drown you, or break your neck.
No, 'tis more light than any hat beside. Your hand shall pass it.
Oh, 'tis wondrous heavy.
Aye, you are deceived. Try it on your head.
would I were now in Cyprus with my sons.
And exit Fortunatus, presumably in a puff of smoke. We're just going to pause there because, Fortunatus perhaps not so keen on the whole magical purse thing, or maybe just using the magical purse thing to get access to the magical hat thing. It's a really interesting thing that money attracts money. Money attracts other people with things. This has a real sort of collector vibe going, oh, so you have a magical purse. I have a magical hat. Come over to my place. We'll have drinks. That we have this flaunting of wealth and things, and of course, the Soldan is tricked into letting Fortunatus put on the hat. And Fortunatus is no idiot. And off he goes. I say, in that sense, I was getting that real sense of the collector vibe. I get the impression that the Soldan has a lot of action figures still in their original boxes. That's how I feel about him. Lynn.
Yeah, so when Fortunatus started explaining what he had done, I was thinking we have a continuity problem here. There was only one purse, and the purse doesn't have the ability to reproduce itself that we know of. So it's like Fortune gave him a different gift than we talked about. But then I figured my revised interpretation was that he's just lying. He maybe he gave some money away, but he didn't give away his magical purse. I wonder if that's actually what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, he does when he's talking about handing it to various people. He does say, at the same time he was riding in crystal chariots drawn by unicorns. I'm just going to go out on a limb here and suggest, even in this magical kingdom that this play is sort of set in, there aren't that many unicorns. Just saying. Briony, and then Rachael.
Yeah, I think Sarah mentioned it yesterday, but just such strong fairy tale vibes coming off this play, which I am absolutely.
Yeah, we've had the magical purse, we've now got the magical hat. And I get the impression the Soldan is going to be saying, "I want my hat back," whether or not in a popular children's book way, I don't know. We shall see. Rachael, then Eric.
Maybe you meant when you said the collector, you were already talking about like Marvel and like I'm getting Infinity Stones vibes. And then I also, I feel like we've walked into a Turkish play, but not a Turkish play like a Turkish setting, but not exactly a Turkish play, and that there's some of the mysticism that we get from Turkish plays, but none of the blood. And as a foreign setting, as a safe setting to perform magic in. I think that's interesting because I don't think we've gotten where I haven't read with you guys yet a Turkish play where the magic isn't some sort of love potion or has a really nasty connotation to it.
Eric.
I was just going to say that I thought this was going in a completely different direction, and I'm glad I was wrong because this is much more interesting. I thought it was going to be that the Soldan is bluffing, basically, because, all these things. And then he just uses the hat to get, sort of the purse. But yeah, this is actually much more interesting, and I'm just curious how they would have made Fortunatus disappear instantaneously, sort of, because it does say fly after this damned traitor through the air, so I'm guessing he was on some sort of harness or something.
Trapdoor. I don't know. I think it's a really good. Definitely gives us options. It occurs to me that I paused there just before the end of the scene anyway, so we'll just quickly finish reading the scene before we any additional thoughts on this scene. So Fortunatus has just this second put on a hat, and bing, he has disappeared. Soldan is not impressed.
Stay, Fortunatus. Stay! I am undone. Treason! Lords, treason! Get me wings, I'll fly after this damned traitor through the air.
And re-enter the nobles.
Who wrongs the mighty king of Babylon?
This Fortunatus, this fiend wrongs your king.
Lock the court gates. Where is the devil hid?
No gates, no grates of iron imprison him. Like a magician breaks he through the clouds, bearing my soul with him. For that jewel gone, I am dead, and all is dross in Babylon. Fly after him, 'tis vain on the wind's wings. He'll ride through all the courts of earthly kings.
What is the jewel that your grace hath lost?
He dies that troubles me. Call me not king, for I'll consume my life in sorrowing.
And they exit. It's interesting, yeah. The first thing that Soldan's going, we need to fly if we're going to catch up with this guy. Get me wings. And then he realizes, he has that moment of just going, fly after him and going, no, we just don't have the resources to catch him now. He is just too far away. I am just going to sit in a corner and be sad for the rest of my life.
We don't, in fact, have the technology.
No, sadly not. So yeah, Soldan very sad there. A bit of a spoiler. I don't think we see the Soldan again. I think I don't think it's going to be a running thing of him turning up every so often and going, "Damn you, Gadget," sort of kind of thing. I think he is here and now gone. Any additional thoughts about the scene before we move into the next one, Eric?
Since we're going with modern parallels, it does feel a bit sort of Indiana Jones, like he's going to put the hat back in a museum at the end of this, thing. But obviously, maybe not.
I'm trying to think of magical hat things now. I'm sure there are more magical hat things.
Well, there's loads of mythology, and hats that make you invisible, hats that sort of make you fly. Hermes used to have a hat. For invisibility.
Yeah, but Hermes inevitably turns up late and leaves a little note in your door saying that you were out. So there's only so much one can do there. Okay, let's move on and do something else before I attempt any other really, really lame jokes. Scene 5 or Act 2, Scene 2. We're going to go back to the two sons, or at least one of the two sons of Fortunatus. Enter Andelocia, very gallant. He's been spending the money. And also the servant Shadow.
Shadow? What have I lost today at dice?
More than you'll win again in a month.
Why, sir, how much comes it to?
It comes to nothing, sir, for you have lost your wits. When a man's wits are lost, the man is like 20 pounds worth of tobacco, which mounts to the air and proves nothing but one thing.
And what thing is that, you ass?
Marry, sir, that he is an ass that melts so much money in smoke.
'Twere a charitable deed to hang thee a smoking.
I should never make good bacon because I'm not fat.
I'll be sworn thy wit is lean.
It's happy I have a lean wit, but master, you have none, for when your money tripped away that went after it, and ever since you have been mad. Here comes your brother.
Enter Ampedo.
Borrow a dram of him, if his be not mouldy, for men's wits in these days are like the cuckoo, bald once a year, and that makes motley so dear that fools so cheap.
Brother, all hail.
There's a rattling salutation.
You must lend me some more money. Nay, never look so strange, and you will come off. So, if you will bar me from square play, do. Come. When the old traveler, my father, comes home, like a young ape, full of fantastic tricks, or a painted parrot stuck full of outlandish feathers, he'll lead the world in a string, and then like a hot shot I'll charge and discharge all.
I would be loath, master, to see that day, for he leads the world in a string that goes to hanging.
Take heed I turn not that head into the world, and lead you so. Brother Wiltby, hie ye any ends of gold or silver?
Thus wanton revelling breeds beggary. Brother, 'twere better that you still lived poor. Want would make wisdom rich. But when your coffers swell to the brim, then riot sets up sails and like a desperate unskilled mariner drives your unsteady fortunes on the point of wreck inevitable. Of all the wealth left by our father, when he left us last, this little is unspent, and this being wasted, your riot ends. Therefore consume it all. I'll live, or dying, find some burial.
Thanks for my crowns. Shadow, I am villainous hungry to hear one of the 7 wise masters talk thus emptily.
I'm a villain master if I'm not hungry.
Because I'll save this gold, Sirrah Shadow. We'll feed ourselves with paradoxes.
Oh, rare. What meat's that?
Meat, you gull, 'tis no meat. A dish of paradoxes is a feast of strange opinion. 'Tis an ordinary that our greatest gallants haunt nowadays, because they would be held for statesmen.
I shall never fill my belly with opinions.
In despite of sway bellies, gluttons, and sweet-mouthed epicures, I'll have thee maintain a paradox and commendations of hunger.
I shall never have the stomach to do it.
Seest thou this crusado? Do it, and turn this into a feast.
Covetousness and lechery are 2 devils. They'll tempt a man to wade through deep matters. I'll do it though good cheer conspire my death for speaking treason against her.
Fall to it then with a full mouth.
Oh, famine, inspire me with thy miserable reasons. I begin, master.
Oh, miserable invocation.
Silence.
There is no man but loves one of 3 beasts. A hound, a horse, or a whore. The horse by his good will has his head ever in the manger. The whore with your ill will has her hand ever in your purse. And a hungry dog eats dirty puddings.
This is profound. Forward. The conclusion of this now.
The conclusion is plain, for since all men love one of these 3 monsters, being such terrible eaters, therefore all men love hunger.
A very lean argument.
I can make it no fatter.
Proceed, good Shadow. This fattens me.
Hunger is made of gunpowder.
Give fire to that opinion.
Stand by, lest it blow you up. Hunger is made of gunpowder, or gunpowder of hunger, for they both eat through some walls. Hunger is a grindstone, it sharpens wit. Hunger is fuller of love than Cupid, for it makes a man eat himself. Hunger was the first that ever opened a cook shop. Cook's the first that ever made sauce. Sauce being licorice licks up good meat, and good meat preserves life. Hunger therefore preserves life.
By my consent, thou shouldst still live by hunger.
Not so. Hunger makes no man mortal. Hunger is an excellent physician, for he dares kill anybody. Hunger is one of the 7 liberal sciences.
Oh, learned. Which of the 7?
Music, for she'll make a man leap at a crust. But as few care for her 6 sisters, so none love to dance after her pipe. Hunger, master, is hungry and covetous, therefore the Crusado.
But hast thou no sharper reasons than this?
Yes, 1. The dagger of Cyprus had never stabbed out such 6 penny pipes but for hunger.
Hi, you dolt. These pipes are but in their minority.
My belly and my press been 20 times at daggers drawing with parting the little urchins.
And we'll pause there before Daddy turns up. Once again, as in the last session, we have this scene with the 2 brothers at opposite ends of the spectrum. We've got one who was effectively labelling himself, or being labelled by his brother, as Vice, who's just gambled all the money that he's gained away, and Ampedo, Virtue, effectively enabling his brother, actually, by just lending him a little bit of cash at that moment. And then we have Shadow doing a bit of stand-up with some feed lines. Once again, it's where the text just gets that little bit more dense and tricky to follow, and just slightly loses one. I think in performance with work again, it can leap off the stage more than it currently does off the page. But thoughts on the room? I was a little lost at times. Briony.
I don't know whether I missed something, but I didn't think I did give him any money. I thought I just gave him paradoxes. Very happy with that.
I got the impression of all the wealth left by a father when he left us last, this little unspent and this being wasted your right ends, therefore consume it all. I got the impression there was money passing hands at that point. Eric.
Yeah, I got the impression that there was no money being exchanged, because that's why Shadow is sort of trying to argue in favor of being given money there in order to satisfy hunger, which of course is made of gunpowder and all that stuff. I did like the puns though, sort of a very lean argument to make it no fatter.
Yeah, there's a bit of bants there. Rachael.
I don't know. My impression is that I did get money, and that I was passing it on to Shadow to go get us something to eat instead of paying my gambling debts.
Yes, because we're talking about the rationale of remaining hungry, and whether it's good for one on some level. Because presumably Ampedo has been virtuous and not spent the money that Daddy gave, except on wise things, or maybe giving money to the poor. I don't know. I don't know actually how virtuous or excessively virtuous Ampedo is actually, in contrast with the obviously profligate Andelocia.
No,
Lynn.
Is it the other way around? I thought it was. Or is that what it is? Ampedo the you're right. Never mind.
Yeah, it's quite difficult to really get a handle on it, because Ampedo doesn't say a lot actually in this scene. There's occasional, throw-ins, but it's mostly feed lines for Shadow a lot of the time. But again, it's very similar setup to last time in the last act, when these three came on, did business before Daddy turns up, which is exactly where we were last time. But Daddy now has additional magical things. Daddy has presumably also not told them how the magical things work, because he's met his children. So any other thoughts before we move on and continue with the scene? Because there's quite a few quite long scenes. There aren't that many scenes in this play. Eric.
I do find it interesting that there's this sort of like Shadow is expected to talk about the whole hunger thing, and then sort of makes, not so sideways stabs at the whole statesmen and people who talk about, like, who talk fancy, basically, like Ampedo does, or Ampedo.
Okay, let us move on. Enter Fortunatus to the scene of stuff that's gone on between brothers and servant.
Peace, idiot, peace. My father is returned.
Touch me not, boys. I am nothing but air. Let none speak to me till you have marked me well.
And we do have a note which I think is important to read out. Shadow chalking Fortunatus back.
Now speak your mind.
Villain, why hast thou chalked my father's back?
Only to mark him and try what color air is all.
Regard him not, Ampedo. Andelocia, Shadow, view me. Am I as you are, or am I transformed?
I thought travel would turn my father madman or fool.
How should you be transformed? I see no change.
If your wits be not planet-stricken, if your brains lie in the right place, you're well enough, for your body a little mended by your fetching vagaries.
Methinks, father, you look as you did, only your face is more withered.
That's not my fault. Age is like love, it cannot be hid.
Or like gunpowder or fire, or like a fool or like a young novice come new to his lands, for all these will show what house they come. Now, sir, You may amplify.
Shadow, turn thy tongue to a shadow and be silent. Boys, be proud. Your father hath the whole world in this compass. I am all felicity, up to the brims. In a minute, I am come from Babylon, and I have been this half hour in Famagosta.
How? In a minute, father. I see travelers must lie.
It's their destinies that fates do so conspire.
I have cut through the air like a falcon. I would have it seem strange to you.
So it does, sir.
But 'tis true. I would not have you believe it neither.
No more we do not, sir.
But 'tis miraculous and true. Desire to see you brought me to Cyprus. I'll leave you more gold and go visit more countries.
Leave us gold enough, and we'll make all countries come visit us.
The frosty hand of age now nips your blood and strews her snowy flowers upon your head, and gives you warning that within few years death needs must marry you. Those short-lived minutes that dribble out your life must needs be spent in peace, not travel. Rest in Cyprus then. Could you survey 10 worlds, yet you must die, and bitter is the sweet that's reaped thereby.
Faith, father, what pleasure have you met by walking your stations?
What pleasure, boy. I have reveled with kings, danced with queens, dallied with ladies, worn strange attires, seen fantasticos, conversed with humorists, been ravished with divine raptures of Doric, Lydian, and Phrygian harmonies. I have spent the day in triumphs and the night in banqueting.
Oh, rare. This is heavenly.
It thinks 'twas horrible.
He that would be an Arabian phoenix to burn in these sweet fires, let him live like an owl for the world to wonder at.
Why, brother, are not all these vanities?
Vanities. Ampedo, thy soul is made of lead, too dull, too ponderous to mount up to the incomprehensible glory that travel lifts men to.
My old master's soul is cork and feathers, and being so light, doth easily mount up.
Sweeten mine ears, good father, with some more.
When in the warmth of mine own country's arms we yawned like sluggards, when this small horizon imprisoned up my body, then thine eyes worshipped these clouds as brightest. But, my boys, the glistering beams which do abroad appear in other heavens, fire is not half so clear.
Why, sir, are there other heavens in other countries?
Peace. Interrupt him not upon thy life.
For still, in all the regions I have seen, I scorn to crowd among the muddy throng of the rank multitude, whose thickened breath, like the condensed fog, do choke that beauty, which else would dwell in every kingdom's cheek. No, I still boldly stepped into their courts, and there to live 'tis rare. Oh, 'tis divine. There shall you see faces angelical. There shall you see troops of chaste goddesses, whose star-like eyes have power, might they shine still, to make night day and day more crystalline. Near these you shall behold great heroes, white-headed counselors, and jovial spirits, standing like fiery cherubims to guard the monarch who, in godlike glory, sits in the midst of these, as if this deity had with a look created a new world, the standers by being the fair workmanship.
How my soul is rapt to a third heaven. I'll travel sure, and live with none but kings.
And shadow must die among knaves. And yet why so? In a bunch of cards, knaves wait upon the kings.
When I turn king, then shalt thou wait on me.
Well, there is nothing impossible. A dog has his day, and so have you.
But tell me, father, have you in all courts beheld such glory, so majestical in all perfection, no way blemished?
In some courts shall you see ambition sit piercing Daedalus's old waxen wings, but being clapped on, and they about to fly, even when their hopes are busied in the clouds, they melt against the sun of majesty, and down they tumble to destruction. For since the heaven's strong arms teach kings to stand, angels are placed about their glorious throne to guard it from the strokes of traitorous hands. By travel, boys, I have seen all these things. Fantastic compliments stalk up and down, tricked in outlandish feathers. All his words, his looks, his oaths are all ridiculous, all apish, childish, and Italianate.
And we'll pause there before something exciting happens. So we've got Fortunatus going, hey, travel's great. Have you ever been traveling? It's I've met this guy. Just go. Oh God, yeah. You staying at home, you're so dull. So much better than me going out and traveling and enjoying things. And I have to say that Ampedo is just such a horrible killjoy here.
Buzzkill.
Real buzzkill of just you're gonna die soon. Basically, just lengthy speech about death, and then just going, all travels is vanities, and and I'm sure some of it is. But Andelocia just lapping it up, and then Ampedo going, oh sure, you've been to court, but aren't they just all really corrupt? Really, all these fabulous people that you visit, and I'm sure that's true. Come on, give him a break. He's having fun. Briony.
I like that his last little speech about how great travel is ended with a nice bit of, othering of a different country, because that's what travel's all about, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah. Italianate. Like, ooh,
Yes.
so exotic.
Yes. Because because Italy is that the ultimate in faraway exoticness for old Fortunatus there.
Yeah,
Lynn.
I think when Fortunatus says that, he's not speaking as a Cypriot, he's speaking as an Englishman.
Yeah. Eric, were you waving?
Yeah, I just like the sort of, I like to imagine that it's basically sort of Shadow and Andelocia standing, next to each other, sort of. There's commentary sort of like live commentary going on while Fortunatus is speaking, and Ampedo doesn't seem to notice Shadow quite as much, but Andelocia is like, shut up, I'm listening.
Mm.
Yeah.
But we interrupt the scene with all this back and forth, which again is amazing. The moment Fortunatus turns up, the scene just sort of gets a kick up its arse, which I appreciate. All of the parts now sort of there's some oil to the wheels. Everything's moving better than when they're just left alone. But enter to this scene in the background, we have the appearance of Fortune, who we met earlier. Fortune having given Fortunatus the purse, the magical purse, having chosen gold and wealth and riches. So enter Fortune, and after her, the three destinies working.
I know medicine for that malady.
By travel, boys, I have seen all these things.
And these are sights for none but gods and kings.
Yes, yea, and for Christian creatures if they be not blind.
In these two hands I do grip all the world. This leather purse and this bald woolen hat make me a monarch. Here's my crown and scepter. In progress will I now go through the world. I'll crack your shoulders, boys, with bags of gold ere I depart. On fortune's wings I ride, and now sit in the height of human pride.
Now, fool, thou liest. With thy proud feet do tread, these shall throw down thy cold and breathless head.
O sacred deity, what sin is done that death's iron fist should wrestle with thy son?
Everybody kneels. It's Fortune, for goodness sake.
Thou art no son of Fortune, but her slave. Thy cedar hath aspired to its full height. Thy sun-like glory hath advanced herself into the top of pride's meridian, and down amain it comes. From Gregory I plume thee like an ostrich, like that ostrich that has eaten metals and abused my gifts, has played the ruffians, wasted that in riots which as a blessing I bestowed on thee.
Forgive me, I will be more provident.
No, endless follies follow endless wealth. Thou hast thy fancy, I must have thy fate, which is to die when thou art most fortunate. This inky thread that ugly sins have spun, black light, black death, faster than it were done.
Oh, let me live, but till I can redeem.
Thy destinies deny thee longer life.
I am but now lifted to happiness.
And now I take most pride to cast thee down. Hadst thou chosen wisdom, this black had been white, and death's stern brow could not thy soul affright.
Take this again. Give wisdom to my sons.
Oh, fool, 'tis now too late. As death strikes thee, so shall their end sudden and wretched be. Though Jove's daughters righteous destinies make haste, his life has wasteful been, and let it waste.
And exit Fortune and the Three Destinies.
Why the pox dost thou sweat so?
For anger to see any of God's creatures have such filthy faces as these sempsters that went hence.
Sempters? Why, you ass, they are destinies.
Indeed, if it be one's destiny to have a filthy face, I know no remedy but to go masked and cry, "Woe worth the fates!"
Why droops my father? These are only shadows raised by the malice of some enemy to fright your life, over which they have no power.
Shadows, I defy their kindred.
Oh, Ampedo, I faint. Help me, my sons.
Shadow, I pray thee run and call more help.
If that desperate Don Diego death has taken up the cudgels once, here's never a fencer in Cyprus dare take my old master's part.
Run, villain, call more help.
Bid him thank the destinies for this.
Exit Shadow.
Let me shrink down and die between your arms. Help comes in vain. No hand can conquer fate. This instant is the last of my life's date. This goddess, if at least she be a goddess, names herself Fortune. Wandering in a wood, half famished, her I met. I have, quoth she, 6 gifts to spend upon mortality: wisdom, strength, health, beauty, long life, and riches. Out of my bounty, one of these is thine.
What benefit did from your choice arise?
Listen, my sons, in this small compass lies infinite treasure. This she gave to me, and gave to this virtue. Take, quoth she, so often as from hence thou drawest thy hand, 10 golden pieces of that kingdom's coin. Where'er thou livest, which plenteous sure shall last, after thy death, till thy sons' lives do waste.
Father, your choice was rare, the gift divine.
If it had been so, if riches had been mine.
But hath this golden virtue never failed?
Never.
Oh, admirable. Here's a fire hath power to thaw the very heart of death, and give stones life by this most sacred breath. See, brother, here's all India in my hand.
Inherit you, my son, that golden land. This hat I brought away from Babylon. I robbed the Soldan of it. 'Tis a prize worth 20 empires in this tis a prize where 20 empires in this jewel lies.
How, father? Jewel? Call you this a jewel? It's coarse wool, a bald fashion, and greasy to the brim. I have bought a better felt for a French crown 40 times. Of what virtuous block is this hat, I pray?
Set it upon thy head and wish a wish. Thou in a moment on the wind's swift wings shall be transported to any place.
The wishing hat and a gold mine.
Oh, Andelocia, Ampedo, now death sounds his 3rd summons, I must hence. These jewels to both I do bequeath. Divide them not, but use them equally. Never bewray what virtues are in them, for if you do, much shame, much grief, much danger follows you. Peruse this book. Farewell. behold in me the rotten strength of proud mortality.
And Old Fortunatus dies.
His
Soul is wandering to the Elysian shades.
the flower that's fresh at noon, at sunset fades. Brother, close you down his eyes, because you were his eldest, and with them close up your tears, whilst I, as all younger brothers do, shift for myself. Let us mourn, because he's dead, but mourn the less, because he cannot revive. The honor we can do him is to bury him royally. Let's about it then, for I'll not melt myself to death with scalding sighs, nor drop my soul out at mine eyes, were my father an emperor.
Hence, hence, thou stopp'st the tide of my true tears. True grief is dumb, though it hath open ears.
Yet God send my grief a tongue, that I may have good utterance for it. Sob on, brother mine, whilst you sigh there. I'll sit and read what story my father has written here.
And they both fall asleep. Fortune and a company of satyrs enter with music, and playing about Fortunatus' body, take it away. Afterwards, Shadow enters running, but we're going to pause there before, because I think we need to, take a moment. Old Fortunatus is dead!
Oh well.
It's okay, it's fine. It's not as if he's the title character or anything. Lynn.
Yeah, so going back to the beginning of this sequence, I was really getting some oh my god, my brain is cramping. It's I'm not really quite awake yet. Here. Not Faust, the other one.
Faustus.
The other Marlowe play that we were just talking about.
Tamburlaine?
Tamburlaine. I hold the fate bound fast in iron chains, and with my hand turn fortune's wheel around. I mean, I definitely hear echoes of that when he talks about, he says something about his hands and fortune favors me. So like super strong Tamburlaine vibes there. And like Tamburlaine in the second part of Tamburlaine, he can conquer the world, but he can't conquer mortality. So that, and then on a completely unrelated note, just an early modern vocabulary thing, the three destinies working, whenever the word work is applied to something women are doing, it's sewing, weaving, spinning, embroidery, that kind of thing. So work is handwork. And
yes.
And a sempster is someone who sews. So.
Yeah, so hence the fact that Shadow, who's just not paying attention, just goes, what, who are these sempsters who came on? It was a magical apparition, are you not paying attention? Moment, which I quite liked, actually. Briony.
Yeah, just to add to that, plus specifically the fates are, the sisters are always depicted with their loom, weaving the thread of life and all that jazz, so it's really nicely established kind of tradition imagery, which again to me is just making it seem more like a beautiful fairy tale, because we've got these really old established kind of conventions and just
And the fact that this is the pride cometh before a fall moment. Fortunatus does just go, I've got it all, I've got everything, and of course Fortune's been sneaking up behind and just waiting for him to pop his mouth off on and say that, and of course, okay, you've got it all, have you? And death. Off he pops his clogs. Eric.
Yeah, Shadow just like. There was a part of me going, yeah, he's going to be the smart servant to the world, the hunger exposition he had earlier. But then, like, as soon as Ampedo starts talking about shadows, he's like, I'm called Shadow. Wait a minute. This is not, no, they're not, I'm not one of them. But it's just kind of, almost endearing that he's not quite that bright sometimes. And just like, his way of describing death, if that desperate Don Diego death, is just a lovely line to be able to say. And obviously sort of his very not flowery language, but the way he speaks is carried over into Andelocia and goes like sort of the flower that's fresh at noon, at sunset fades, which sounds very poetic, but then it seems to be like sort of, he's dead. It's fine. We'll move on.
Yeah, because unlike people in so much media who on their deathbed don't manage to get out and say the final vital important things. No, he lays out precise instructions as to how the magical items work, so that his sons know exactly what to do with them. And also includes a book of I think it's his travel diary. I think we get that data later on. So a full outline of what he's been up to, as well as the magical objects. I mean, whether you should ever tell Andelocia about the magical objects or not, I mean, I think everyone in the audience is going, don't tell it to him. Tell the other one maybe, but not. No, this is not going to go well. Briony, then Lynn.
Yeah. Also, the whole thing of like share them equally. I'll give them both to both of you, and you have to share them equally. That's definitely going to end well, I'm sure.
Oh God, you can imagine what it's like at Christmas with him. Lynn.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's the division of the kingdom motif. I make sure you share. Yeah, like that's gonna have this definitely foreshadowing, like how that's gonna go south. So yeah. Exactly.
So he dies, and we do get this little moment of poetry about the death. His soul is wandering in the Elysian fields, there's a sense of possibly Andelocia moving on quite quickly. Rachael.
I feel like Andelocia is kind of a bit of a prodigal son, like we had in is it Jacob and Esau, or even in Misogynous, where he's out gambling and doing all these other things, and then it turns out that there's a whole another son that comes up at the end, or wherever that text broke off.
I mean, it's a really nice bit of speech, Let's mourn because he's dead, but mourn the less because he cannot revive. Let's don't overdo it. Eric.
I just enjoyed the fact that they fell asleep next to their dead father's body. Like, I mean, okay, it's emotionally exhausting, but also kind of yeah.
Yeah, and weird. They leave it to a company of satyrs to do the clearing up. There's this musical cue. What do we do? Shall we bury him? Let's have a nap first, to think about it. Alan.
They're obviously using up more stock costumes by putting the stagehands in them as the satyrs.
I don't know. Whoever's available to do it. But yeah, and of course we sent Shadow off stage earlier to try and get some help for the dying father, and he's about to re-enter now. So he was obviously very effective in his finding help. So yes, the return of Shadow. Everybody else is currently asleep. The body has been cleared. I assume people wake up at the arrival of Shadow.
I can get none. I can find none. Where are you, master? Have I taken me napping? And you too? I see Sorrow's eyelids are made of a dormouse skin. They seldom open, or of a miser's purse that's always shut. So ho, master.
Shadow, well, how now? What's the matter?
I can get none, sir. It is impossible.
What
is impossible? Oh, sorry, brother.
Impossible? What canst not get?
No help for my old master.
Hast thou been all this while calling for help?
Yes, sir. He scorned all Famagosta when he was in his huffing, and now he lies puffing for wind. They say they scorn him.
The poison of their scorn infects not him. He wants no help. See where he breathless lies. Brother, to what place have you borne his body?
I bear it? I touched it not.
Nor I. A leaden slumber pressed mine eyes.
Whether it were lead or Latin that hasped down those winking casements, I know not, but I found you both snorting.
And in that sleep methought I heard the tunes of sullen passions apt for funerals, and saw my father's lifeless body borne by satyrs. Oh, I fear that deity hath stolen him hence, that snudge his destiny.
Fear he's risen again. Didst not thou meet him?
I, sir? Do you think this white and red durst have kissed my sweet cheeks if they had seen a ghost? But master, if the destinies or fortune or the fates or the fairies have stolen him, never indict them for the felony, for by this means the charges of a tomb is saved, and you being his heirs may do as many rich executors do, put that money in your purses and give out that he died a beggar.
Away, you rogue. My father die a beggar. I'll build a tomb for him of massy gold.
Methinks, master, it were better to let the memory of him shine in his own virtues, if he had any, than in alabaster.
I shall mangle that alabaster face, you whoreson virtuous vice.
He has a marble heart that can mangle a face of alabaster.
Brother, come, more not. Our father is but stepped to agree with Charon for his boat hire to Elysium. See, here's a story of all his travels. This book shall come out with a new edition. I'll tread after my father's steps. I'll go measure the world. Therefore, let's share these jewels. Take this or this.
Will you then violate our father's will?
Oh, Puritan, keep a dead man's will. Indeed, in the old time, when men were buried in soft churchyards, that their ghosts might rise, it was good. But, brother, now they are imprisoned in strong brick and marble. They are fast. Fear not. Away. These are fooleries, gulleries, trumperies. Here's this, or I'm gone with both.
Do as you please, do you as you please. The sin shall not be mine. Fools call those things profane that are divine.
Are you content to wear the jewels by turns? I'll have the purse for a year, you the hat, and as much gold as you'll ask. And when my purse-ship ends, I'll resign and cap you.
I am content to bear all discontents.
Well, farewell, brother.
Sorry, I apologise. It is important that Ampedo does exit at that point.
I should serve this bearing ass rarely now, if I should load him, but I will not. Though conscience be like physic, seldom used, for so it does least hurt, yet I'll take a dram of it. This for him, and some gold. This for me. For having this mint about me, I shall want no wishing cap. Gold is an eagle that can fly to any place, and, like death, that dares enter all places. Shadow, wilt thou travel with me?
I shall never fade with the humor, because I cannot lie.
Thou dolt. We'll visit all the king's courts in the world.
So we may in return dolts home, but what shall we learn by travel?
Fashions.
That's a beastly disease. Methinks it's better staying in your own country.
How? In my own country, like a cage bird, and see nothing.
Nothing? You may see things enough for what you can see abroad that is not at home. The same sun calls you up in the morning, and the same man in the moon lights you to bed at night. Our fields are green as theirs in the summer, and their frosts will nip us more in winter. Our birds sing as sweetly, and our women are as fair. In other countries, you shall have one drink to you, whilst you kiss your hand and duck, he'll poison you. I confess you shall meet more fools and asses and knaves abroad than at home. Yet God be thanked, we have pretty store of all, but for punks we put them down.
Prepare thy spirits, for thou shalt go with me. To England shall our stars direct our course. Thither the Prince of Cyprus, our king's son, is gone to see the lovely Agripyne. Shadow, will gaze upon that English dame, and try what virtue gold has to inflame. First to my brother, then away let's fly. Shadow must be a courtier ere he die.
And enter Andelocia.
If I must, the fates shall be served. I've seen many clowns' courtiers, then why not Shadow? Fortune I am for thee.
And exit Shadow. So, yeah, this interesting sort of post-body disappearance scene. Shadow sort of hasn't got the memo. He's turned up and said, nobody wanted to help. They said, oh, well, we don't care about, Old Fortunatus didn't care about us, so why should we care about him? And it's a bit sad. Ampedo saw the magical thing with the satyrs happening in his sort of dream world. And then it's this question of, what do they do? Do they build a massive tomb? Who gets to keep what? And it's interesting, Ampedo just doesn't want to be involved. He just goes, no, I just don't care. I do not care for the magical objects. I do care sort of about the nature of Father's will, but yeah, it's down to Andelocia to decide what he's going to do, and he decides, well, I'll keep the money, and I'll pass over the wishing cap and sort some other stuff later. But Ampedo really doesn't care, in a sense, does he? Just not getting involved with the magical objects. Not getting involved. But it's sort of choice moment, isn't it? It's Andelocia, for all his sort of viciness, is honest enough to say, no, look, which one do you want? This one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Oh, have that one then. So there was a brotherly relationship thing going on there. Thoughts, Rachael?
I know that there wasn't a bunch of that leisure travel wasn't popular until maybe 2 centuries ago or something like that, or a little more than that. But I don't know if anybody could answer this, but kind of why is there this disposition of or this side of why bother traveling at all?
I'll go to Lynn.
Well, sadly, we do not have our professional historian here, but I'll put on my amateur historian hat and say that no, recreational travel or leisure travel wasn't popular in the sense that it wasn't something that most people had access to, but it was definitely something that that people would aspire to. The fact that you had been to the continent, if you were English, was definitely a prestige marker. The sons of wealthy families would go to the continent to sort of pick up some polish, spend time at foreign courts, see exotic sights. That was definitely an aspirational thing, even if it wasn't most people didn't have access to it. So this, I think, was a debate at the time. Is it better to travel or is it better to stay at home? Because there was a certain kind of social juice attached to having been abroad.
And there definitely is travel literature as well, around at this time, and so there is an appetite for it. That might feed into that. Alan, then Eric.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of what Lynn said there about effectively the grand tour tourists. I think that was possibly more of a 18th century onwards thing. Travel was always more of a prerogative of the wealthier in society anyway. Even within the last century, there are people in East Anglia who maybe never been to London.
Eric?
Yeah, I think there was also a sort of, what's called, if I remember correctly, there was another play that we did where they talked about how going abroad to sort of grow up, essentially. Or, well, maybe we've not done that yet. No, maybe we have. The English Traveler, which is basically the more you travel, the more you know, kind of thing. The world shrinks, kind of. It's very sort of, as far as I know, it was popular for people of means. So basically people who could afford it to send their sons abroad. So hence why, I don't know, if you know, not me, you kind of get things like people sending their sons abroad for work, or, well, not work, but for sort of to educate them in a different way, kind of thing. Or
we haven't really dipped into too many of the travel explicitly travel plays. I mean, we've got a few where there is some travelling that goes on, but the English travel is a text I think Eric's looked at, but we haven't actually read in the room yet. And there are other travelling texts as well. But we've got bits. The first half of Thomas Cromwell is effectively a travel log of his adventures on the continent, and we do have other sort of adventurers going off, certainly to war, that does similar things. So there is that little element there. But we will have more to come. I think we'll be able to discuss this at more length in a future times when we've read more plays that do similar things. Right. Any other thoughts before we go into our final scene for the session? Eric?
I do like how Shadow, they pretend that Shadow has a choice in what he's going to do. And it's like, if I must, I'll do what I have to. But yeah.
Well, it was sort of. I think Shadow's questioning is quite interesting because of what he's questioning, and it's not that he has a problem with travelling or that travelling broadens the mind, but he asks his master, what are we actually going to be there to see? And he's going, fashions, and he's going, is that it? We could just read some magazines at home, man. Don't have to, So the Shadow's role in this is quite interesting because he occasionally just come out some really nice lines, but every so often, sort of going, well, maybe as a clown he's working a bit too hard. I see sorrow's eyelids are made of a dormouse skin; they seldom open. I like that. Anyway, we will move on to Act 3, Scene 1 in some editions, or Scene 6, if we want to call that a running total of Scene 6, if we're not including the chorus, because you could argue it's Scene 7. It's confusing. Anyway, Act 3, Scene 1. Enter Orleans, melancholic. Galloway with him. There's a boy after them with a lute.
Begone, leave that with me and leave me to myself. If the king ask for me, swear to him I am sick, and thou shalt not lie. Pray thee, leave me.
I'm gone, sir.
And exit boy.
This music makes me but more out of tune. Oh, Agripyne.
Gentle friend, no more. Thou sayest love is a madness. Hate it then, even for the name's sake.
Oh, I love that madness, even for the name's sake.
Let me tame this frenzy by telling thee thou art a prisoner here, by telling thee she's daughter to a king, by telling thee the king of Cyprus' son shines like a sun between her looks and thine, whilst thou seemest but a star to Agripyne. He loves her.
If he do, why, so do I.
Love is ambitious and loves majesty.
Dear friend, thou art deceived. Love's voice doth sing as sweetly in a beggar as a king.
Dear friend, thou art deceived. Oh, bid thy soul lift up her intellectual eyes to heaven, and in this ample book of wonders read of what celestial mold, what sacred essence herself is formed, the search whereof will drive sound musical among the jarring spirits, and in sweet tune set that which none inherits.
I'll gaze on heaven if Agripyne be there. If not, la la sol, la la.
Call this madness in. See, from the windows of every eye derision thrusts out cheeks, wrinkle within it laughter. Every finger is like a dart shot from the hand of scorn, by which thy name is hurt, thine honor torn.
Laugh at me, sweet Galloway?
Even at thee?
Huh. I laugh at them. Are they not mad? Are not they mad that let my true sorrow make them glad? I dance and sing only to anger grief, that in that anger he might smite life down with his iron fist. Good heart, it seemeth then, they laugh to see grief kill me. O fond men, you laugh at others' tears, when others smile, you tell yourself in pieces. Vile, vile, vile! Aha! When I behold a swarm of fools crowding together to be counted wise. I laugh because sweet Agripyne's not there, but weep because she is not anywhere, and weep because, whether she be or not, my love was ever and is still forgot, 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 forgot.
Draw back this stream. Why should my Orleans mourn?
Look yonder, Galloway. Dost thou see that sun? Nay, good friend, stare upon it. Mark it well. Ere he be 2 hours older, all that glory is banished heaven. And then for grief this sky, that's now so jocund, will mourn all in black. And shall not Orleans mourn? Alack, alack. Oh, what a savage tyranny it were, to enforce care laugh, and woe not shed a tear. Dead is my love, I am buried in her scorn. That is my sunset, and shall I not mourn? Yes, by my troth, I will.
Dear friend, forbear. Beauty, like sorrow, dwelleth everywhere. Raise out this strong idea of her face, as fair as hers, shineth in any place.
Thou art a traitor to that white and red, which sitting on her cheeks, being Cupid's throne, is my heart's sovereign. Oh, when she is dead, this wonder, beauty, shall be found in none. Now Agrippine's not mine, I vow to be in love with nothing but deformity. O fair deformity, I muse all eyes, are not enamoured of thee. Thou didst never murder men's hearts, or let them pine like wax, melting against the sun of destiny. Thou art a faithful nurse to chastity. Thy beauty is not like to Agrippine's, for cares and age and sickness hers deface, but thine's eternal, O deformity. Thy fairness is not like to Agrippine's, for dead her beauty will no beauty have, but thy face looks most lovely in the grave.
Enter the Prince of Cyprus and Agripyne.
See where they come together, hand in hand.
Oh, watch, sweet Galloway, when the hands do part. Between them you shall find my murdered heart.
By this, then, it seems a thing impossible, to know when an English lady loves truly.
Not so, for when her soul steals into her heart, and her heart leaps up to her eyes, and her eyes drop into her hands, then if she say, here's my hand, she's your own, else never.
Here's a pair of your prisoners. Let's try their opinion.
My kind prisoners, well encountered. The Prince of Cyprus here and myself have been wrangling about a question of love. My Lord of Orleans, you look lean and likest a lover. Whether is it more torment to love a lady and never enjoy her, or always to enjoy a lady whom you cannot choose but hate?
To hold her ever in mine arms, whom I loathe in my heart, was some plague. Yet the punishment were no more than to be enjoined to keep poison in my hand, and yet never to taste it.
But say you should be compelled to swallow the poison.
Then a speedy death would end a speedy misery. But to love a lady and never enjoy her, oh, it is not death, but worse than damnation. 'Tis hell, 'tis...
No more, good Orleans. Nay then, I see my prisoner is in love too.
Methinks soldiers cannot fall into the fashion of love.
Methinks a soldier is the most faithful lover of all men else, for his affection stands not upon compliment. His wooing is plain homespun stuff. There's no outlandish thread in it, no rhetoric. A soldier casts no figures to get his mistress's heart. His love is like his valor in the field, when he pays downright blows.
True, madam, but would you receive such payment?
No, but I mean I love a soldier best for his plain dealing.
That's as good as the first.
Be it so. That goodness I like, for what lady can abide to love a spruce silken-faced courtier that stands to look by his glass, how to speak by his glass, how to sigh by his glass, how to court his mistress by his glass. I would wish him no other plague but to have a mistress as brittle as glass.
And that were as bad as the horn plague.
Are any lovers possessed with this madness?
But madmen are not possessed with his love. Yet by my troth, we poor women do but smile in our sleeves to see all this foppery. Yet we all desire to see our loves attired gallantly, to hear them sing sweetly, to behold them dance comely and such like. But this apish monkey fashion of effeminate niceness are out upon it. I hate it worse than it to be counted a scold.
Indeed, men are most regarded when they least regard themselves.
And women most honored when they show mercy to their lovers.
It's not a miserable tyranny to see a lady triumph in the passions of a soul languishing through her cruelty.
Methinks it is.
Methinks 'tis more than tyranny.
So think not I. For as there is no reason to hate any that love us, so it were madness to love all that do not hate us. Women are created beautiful, only because men should woo them. For 'twere miserable tyranny to enjoin poor women to woo men. I would not hear of a woman in love for my father's kingdom.
I never heard of any woman that hated love.
Nor I, but we had all rather die than confess we love. Our glory is to hear men sigh whilst we smile, to kill them with a frown, to strike them dead with a sharp eye, to make you this day wear a feather and tomorrow a sick nightcap. Why, this is rare. There's a certain deity in this, when a lady of the magic, by the magic of her looks, can turn a man into 20 shapes.
Sweet friend, she speaks this but to torture me.
I'll teach thee how to plague her. Love her not.
Poor Orleans, how lamentably he looks. If he'll stay, he'll make me surely love him for pure pity. I must send him hence for all sorts of love. I hate the French. I pray thee, sweet prisoner, entreat Lord Longaville to come to me presently.
I will, and esteem myself more than happy that you will employ me.
And exit Orleans.
Watch him. Watch him for God's sake, if he sigh not or look back.
Does both. But what mystery lies in this?
Ain't no mystery. 'Tis as plain as Cupid's forehead. Why, this is as it should be, and esteem myself more than happy that you will employ me. My French prisoner is in love over head and ears.
It's wonder how he escapes drowning.
With whom, think you?
With his keeper for a good wager. How glad is he to obey, and how proud am I to command in this empire of affection. Over him and such spongy-livered youths that lie soaking in love, I triumph more with my eye than ever he did over a soldier with his sword. It's not a gallant victory for me to subdue my father's enemy with a look. Prince of Cyprus, you had best take heed how you encounter an English lady.
God bless me from loving any of you, if all be so cruel.
God bless me from suffering you to love me, if you not be so formidable.
Will you command me any service, as you have done Orleans?
No other service but this, that as Orleans you love me, for no other reason but that I may torment you.
I will, conditionally, that in all company I may call you my tormentor.
You shall, conditionally that you never beg for mercy. Come, my lord of Galloway.
Come, sweet madam.
And exeunt all except for the Prince of Cyprus.
The ruby-coloured portals of her speech were closed by mercy, but upon her eye, attired in frowns, sat murdering cruelty.
Re-enter Agripyne, who listens.
She's angry that I durst so high aspire. Oh, she disdains that any stranger's breast should be a temple for her deity. She's full of beauty, full of bitterness. Till now I did not dally with love's fire, and when I thought to try his flames indeed, I burnt me even to cinders. Oh, my stars, why from my native shore did your beams guide me, to make me dote on her that doth deride me?
And Agripyne kneels, Cyprus walks musing.
Hold him in this mind, sweet Cupid, I conjure thee. Oh, what music these hey-hoes make. I was about to cast my little self into a great love trance for him, fearing his heart had been flint, but seeing I see 'tis pure virgin wax, he shall melt his belly full, for now I know how to temper him.
And exit Agripyne. As she departs, Cyprus sees her.
Never beg mercy, yet be my tormentor. I hope she heard me not, doubtless she did, and now will she insult upon my passions, and vex my constant love with mockeries. Nay, then I'll be my own physician, and outface love, and make her think that I mourned thus because I saw her standing by. What news, my lord of Cornwall?
But we'll have to wait until another time to find out what's happening with Cornwall, as that's where we're going to pause, because Cornwall's going to turn up and say, "Hi, the A plot's turned up." So this is a love sort of subplot discussing what's the worst kind of situation you can be. The various people in love with other people or enamoured in certain ways. I mean, we did spend quite a long time for Orlean explaining he's quite sad. Orlean was definitely quite sad for quite a while, and then we have various different the sort of question: what's the worst? It's more torment to love a lady and never enjoy her, or always enjoyed a lady who you cannot choose but hate. Answers on a postcard to that particular one. Does anyone have a particular opinion on that? There are some slightly tricky questions about the kind of witty banter that they're sort of engaging in here and discussion, and I mean, I do quite like Agrippine's bit about the glass. You don't want someone who's just all surface, there's all sorts of interesting questions about this scene. This feels like one where you could actually workshop this with a few people and come up with all sorts of different ways of playing with it. Again, every so often they just sort of throw you a scene that sort of seems completely random and you're not quite sure what to do with it. And then, of course, in a moment, people we know will arrive. And after the death of Old Fortunatus, I suspect that the plot's taking a turn of direction. That each act or so, we're going to change movements. Rachael, and then Eric.
I was going to say that I was reading a scene out of I think A School for Husbands by Moliere, and she's going back, the character in that is going back and forth with the guy that she doesn't want to marry about I don't know, the Agripyne just reminds me there's so much in her. She just showed up in the scene and she's already got so much to say, and she's already got so much character and so much to play with there. And then even what she says about like the courtiers and stuff like that, I don't know, it's like kind of I don't know how to phrase it really, but even though she's a character, it's still a guy that's writing this, and I think there's a sort of what do you call it, who's the actor that played Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind versus Rudolph Valentino, the type of man that men aspire to versus what women seem to prefer type thing, the cutting down of masculinity. Yeah, Clark Gable, thank you, Dan. The cutting down of masculinity, if there's any sort of upkeep of appearance or the degradation of that as something feminine.
Eric.
I was just going to say that it's interesting how you've got, like, it's like we've stepped into a different play for Act 3, which is kind of like, yes, we now have Tamer Tamed, or something similar of that nature, which is kind of like this. It's unclear quite what Agripyne is doing, sort of like this game of I love him, but I don't love him, but also kind of, you don't really know what she's thinking. I mean, obviously, this is an early modern play. So there are a lot of like, usually you tend to believe the characters when they're performing monologues or soliloquies and so on. But it's just interesting to play on that sort of her motivations and her playfulness with people and how she kind of seems to lead them on, but also doesn't.
Other thoughts in the room? we're approaching the end of the session, but yeah, because let's say we've got Cyprus, who's quite keen. We've got Orleans, who's quite keen, and we got Galloway, who's just rolling his eyes, just going, "Oh, get over yourself." Basically, that's what Galloway's spend most of his time saying. And yeah, not quite a shadow, but definitely someone who's to a degree standing to one side of the scene that he's in, with everybody else being tormented in different ways. Okay, I'm looking around the room for someone to throw something in. It's not a very big room today, remember, so you know, there's fewer opinions, so you know, exercise them when you can. Otherwise,
We're
I
going
will.
to let you suffer.
Yeah, that's fine. Briony.
Yeah, I just didn't fully understand this scenario whereby they're like chatting to prisoners about love and then sending prisoners off on errands. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, noble prisoners. It's a model we don't really understand because they're political prisoners, but really they kind of have the freedom of the court, because they're highborn. It's not prisoners in the sense that they're in a dungeon in leg irons. Yeah, so we don't really have I can't think of a modern equivalent. Yeah, they're hostages, but they're well treated hostages. So yeah, in some ways, rank is more important than nationality. So you sort of have certain, there are certain protocols for treating your highborn prisoners, even if you are technically political enemies. So yeah, so she's still respectful and even kind of playful with them. And they do have freedom to move around the court. They're always being watched, so it would be hard to escape. But yeah, it's sort of a prisoner guest mashup.
Yeah, I mean it's so difficult to figure out the etiquette of such things in such situations, and of course we were flagged up that this is where we were going at the end of the last scene when Andelocia, for no readily apparent reason, said, "Oh, let's go to England." Yeah. Let's head off to England, and that's where we are. Despite the various names, that's where we seem to have flown off to, and I do love the way actually Galloway just delivers really, really blunt exposition. Of just going, let me by telling thee thou art a prison, she's daughter to a king, and just laying out all the plot points in the first few seconds of this scene, in a really blunt, and you could almost just turn to the audience, just following good, but it's fine because of the sort of the tenor of the play overall and the way it's structured. That this is going to be another episode that will presumably catch fire when the sons of Old Fortunatus turn up with the magical items, or how that's going to work. Other thoughts before I go to final thoughts, Rachael?
I was just gonna say maybe it's like the idea of house arrest more or something like that, or like in War and Peace, I think when Pierre meets up with the French, and I think he meets Napoleon and he talks with him, or he meets with some of the generals and like hangs out with them, or
it's almost the reverse, because in War and Peace, Pierre, a French, I can't remember, it's colonel or something like that, an officer turns up and basically takes his own house from him and treats him to dinner in his own house. He's not pretending to be the owner of the house throughout the whole encounter, and he gets fantastically drunk. He wants to kill Napoleon. He doesn't actually get anywhere near Napoleon. It's a bit of a delusion that he has. He gets over it when he becomes a prisoner of war and terrible things happen to him. Anyway, Eric.
Well, the best approximation that I can come up with is sort of, well, I mean, the sort of Marco Polo setup where you've got like someone who's not native to the country, sort of, but can discuss with people of rank and sort of just move around the court as he wishes, except to certain areas that might contain sensitive information or particularly important people and that kind of thing.
Okay, we are going to go into final thoughts now. For those who've been here so far, I think we're getting a more of a shape of the play. Is that every so often it's going to jump to a different location. We're going to follow the sort of magical threads, but trying to predict where this play is going to go is probably going to be quite difficult. Actually, it's a magical mystery tour. So Rachael, any final thoughts about the play overall so far? I say we're only halfway through, and still a lot to play for. What do you think of the show so far?
I don't know. I like Agripyne. I liked the guy that I was reading for today. He seems very up to something. But I think it's fun to play the bad guy and who does what they want. I'm still interested to see where it's going because I feel like there's been such a shift, and Fortunatus, who we were following for almost all of yesterday, has just kicked it, so I'm not exactly sure again where it's gonna go.
Yeah, and spoilers, people, he's not coming back. This isn't one of those kind of magical mystery tours. No, he's very dead. No backseas from fortune. Lynn, any final thoughts?
Yeah, yesterday I said I was struggling to figure out how to engage with this play. I don't know where to have it. Kind of given up on that that effort of trying to figure out what it's. Yeah, let it go. Just let it go. Because we've resolved one thing. Fortunatus chose poorly, tries to redeem himself by giving his sons his gifts and saying, now share them and use them wisely. And then one of the sons says, all right, let's go to England. I hear there's a love plot going on there. Like, we're going to start a new play. All right, we're going to a new play. Cool. I am still a little confused, though, because we have I can't figure out what direction the love story is going to go. Because we see Orleans first, I would tend to think, he's going to be the guy that ends up with the object of desire, with the desirable female. But then the business with Agripyne and the Prince of Cyprus is really hard to interpret. She says, I was about to be cast myself in a dungeon of love or something like that when I thought he didn't love me. But now that I know he does, I've got the upper hand and I'm going to use this to torture him. Does that mean that she does love and desire him or not? And then he says, I'm going to pretend that I knew she was there all along. So that's getting really complicated. You don't even need Orleans. You just, to make, to have conflicts in the relationship between Cyprus and Agripyne. So I can't figure out who she's going to end up with. So that's sort of interesting, but it's also a little disorienting. So I'm very curious about what's going to happen tomorrow.
Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is feeling more and more like a sketch show, with added pageants. It seems to be a grab bag of every bit and piece that was kicking about. There were certainly elements in there where I was thinking, yes, the prop keepers told me we've got all these costumes in the back which need an airing. All the stuff that's left over from the Turkish plays we've been doing. Let's have a scene in where we can use some of those. But I'm not seeing any sort of through line to it at all. I mean, by halfway through the play, which we've just passed, I would have hoped for some form of continuity, which seems to be sadly lacking.
Well, we do have the familial plot continuity, Fortunatus, his sons, and there does seem to be a very clear sense that the two sons are playing a sort of virtue, vice, which direction are they going to leap question. I mean, it's a bit unfair that we've stopped this scene midway through because one of the sons is about to enter, and so connects this scene with the rest of the play in a way that we haven't been able to do. We've sort of cut it off in its prime. So I think there is definitely there is a through line, but it is true that it's there's a lot of business going on with it. Eric, any final thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting. It kind of feels like sort of we've a bit like sort of with Night of the Burning Pestle, although a bit less funny, because we don't have the citizen and his wife commenting on the action. But it is kind of, well, we started a device and now we kind of have like a sort of, well, we killed off the main character, so it's kind of like, now what? We have these items that were fetched. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting play so far, and also it's kind of not as xenophobic as I expected it to be. I mean, he went, why on earth would you want to travel? We have beautiful women here. We have, and it's kind of like, well, yeah, it's not quite as they're lesser as I don't know. Yeah,
Briony, any final thoughts?
I don't really have anything that to add today. I'm still enjoying it. I'm still getting lots of the fairy tale vibes and some really nicely drawn characters.
Yeah, the fairy tale vibe is, I think, the most important. There's so much of it in there. We do have the question, which towards the end we can actually start asking more practical sense of, it's quite long. As a text, if we were putting it on stage, we would definitely be looking at what might need to be trimmed. How do we make sure that certain scenes move at pace, especially some of the more processional stuff, making sure that they don't overstay their welcome. But we did, I say, today we haven't had that much of that sort of processional thing, beyond the image of fortune and the destinies. So yeah, there's all sorts of elements there which we need to sort of unpack, because I think there is an element of actually the flow of the narrative will be clearer if we were trimming a few of the heavier bits out. I'm struggling, it has to be said, with the two sons, and the stuff with Shadow. I think with work it will work, but I have to say during the reading I have struggled to follow actually what the hell they're saying, and I suspect an audience will struggle to know what the hell they're actually saying as it's going on without some serious effort to make that work. Whereas Fortunatus is just clearly a fabulous character and very nicely written, and I'm sad he's dead. Damn it. He lit up the room, he did. Dan, you've just come in for this session and you're joining us again tomorrow. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm definitely giving this a chance because I like Dekker and I liked Fortunatus. When he kicked the bucket, it did make it a little bit harder for me to follow, even though I know I'm supposed to be following, I guess, the son's adventures and a couple of these other characters who are just kind of drifting in back and forth. But I'm finding those stories a little bit harder to get into. I'm not sure if it's because of the pacing of it, because the tone of it. It's hard to pin down where it should be. I got the whole fairy tale vibe of it, but I don't have a sense of the voices of these characters or where they would be, like actually placed, like what does the scene actually look like? That's making it difficult for me to start to relate to any of them, apart from Fortunatus, who's now gone. So it's hard to walk into a middle of a play, I think, as I usually think that you can pick up the flow, the rhythm of it at some point, but for whatever reason, I'm just not, it's just not there yet. So it'll get there, I think, just not there yet.
Yeah, and also the question of, where do you put the interval? Because, we're approaching a point in the text where after the death of Fortunatus, at what point do you let the new plot line get going before you put an interval in? Is it towards the end of the scene that we're currently halfway through? Or, and I suppose if we're going to make trims, that would change sometimes possibly the shape of the show as well. In practice, precisely how does the flow? Because sometimes early modern plays don't resist an interval, but sadly I like one because pain, so much pain. So all that remains is to thank all these wonderful readers. I think we've gone through everyone. I think we have a bigger room for the next couple of days, so I'm sure we'll have a few more opinions bouncing about, and we'll see how that all goes. I say thanks to all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.